What is going on, guys? I hope you guys are having a blessed Sunday. It is September 22nd, day of our Lord 2024. This is the Set It Off Network. I'm your host, Michael Seditall. Thank you for being with us today. And we're here on Sunday breaking down another LSU football game. Another game where, you look at the box score, maybe you even watch the game, just maybe didn't pay attention, maybe watch some of the highlights later on in the day, and you'll say, well, LSU won pretty good. 34-17 is pretty respectable, right? Maybe you didn't know much about UCLA going into the game, and you're saying to yourself, "Well, they beat a Big Ten Power Four football team. Beat them pretty good, shut them out in the second half." And you're probably thinking like, maybe LSU's starting to turn the corner. But if you're like me, and like a majority of the LSU fans out there, you watch the game. And maybe some of you even sweated your behinds off in the stands yesterday for a miserable 2:30 experience in Louisiana. It's not a good idea to play September day games. But that's another story for another day. This is just strictly about LSU and UCLA. And I think a lot of people, just like me, at probably halftime, right? Halftime is right when I felt like, all right, this is not good. All right, you're in a football game with one of the worst P4 teams in the country. A team that lost by 40 last week to Indiana. And that's not saying they didn't play above what they're capable of, because they were looking forward to this game. It was clearly obvious they came out and wanted to establish a tone, and they played well. Like, you can't, some of the things you can't really knock LSU for, because UCLA just made plays sometimes. So when I break the game down, it's gonna sound like I'm dogging LSU, but in the grand scheme of things, we're gonna get to that later. We're gonna talk about how all of this kind of mixes in together. So let's start with the bad first, right? The bad is injuries. All right, you played a UCLA team that you beat pretty good, all right, and you came out with two huge injuries. We still don't know the status of Harold Perkins and Zy Alexander, but going into South Alabama, a team that scored 81 one week and 48 or 51 the next week, that's not a game you really want to go in missing the defensive starters, Not saying that those guys are difference makers, but LSU already struggles with depth as it is on that side of the ball. The more guys you have on that side of the ball, the better. It doesn't really matter who it is. It could be the second string defensive tackle for all I care. At this point, you can't afford to lose anybody on that side of the ball. So not just you're losing those two guys, it sounds like, but it sounds like you're losing them for extended time, past South Alabama, at least one of them. So that's the worst news coming from it. The second worst news is UCLA kind of did what they wanted to in the first half offensively. A team that was converting about 28% on third down had a pretty good day on third down. In the first half, they were 5 of 8, included in a fourth down conversion on one of those. You had, let's see, what was our total yardage? So UCLA had 281 yards. I'd like to know how much of that was in the first half. Because like I said, after the first half, things were pretty looking up if you're an LSU fan. Like, if you just started watching the game in the first half or in the second half, like, you're probably thrilled. Like, looked amazing. But you could see the frustration on the sideline from Brian Kelly. And during the games, you usually don't see Brian Kelly frustrated. You see him frustrated after games and maybe even post-game, immediately after or days after. But, like, his halftime interview, you could tell he was pissed. And it was because LSU was just making simple mistakes. It wasn't that they were out of position. It was just guys not doing what they were supposed to. It wasn't that they were making horrible plays. They were just getting caught looking at plays, not doing their job. Maybe they were in the wrong spot at the wrong time. And just a whole bunch of little silly mistakes is how we put it, right? and it cost you. It cost you 17 points in the first half, and you go into halftime of this game it's tied at 17, and you're kind of looking around like, are we really in a football game with this team? And I get it. It's a Power Four team, and I say all the time, like, just get the win and keep improving. Like, that's what this LSU team has got to do this year. They've got to find a way to win the game when they play teams that aren't very good. They've got to find a way to win the game first, all right, and then look to improve second, all right, because there is no tune-up. There is no, like, this isn't Nicholls State. Like, this team could have beat you. The team next week can beat you. South Carolina could have beat you. Like, these are not games where you can just walk in and steamroll a team. Like, LSU's not good enough to do that. Like, they won't play another team on their football schedule. They haven't played a football team on that schedule other than Nicholls, all right, that they can walk in and know for a fact it doesn't matter how we play, we're going to win. And even the Nicholls game, you struggled, right? So that's probably a concerning thing, is that you had another slow start. You get the ball, you score, you immediately give up the touchdown, which nullifies getting the ball first, which is another thing that I literally cannot stand. Brian Kelly is leading the head coach with the most active, or the only active coach with the most wins in college football right now. He has the most wins of any active coach in college football right now. And by no way am I telling him how to do his job, but my God, every other team in the country must just not know what they're doing. Because there's not a team in the country that doesn't win the toss and doesn't defer to the second half. It's simple math. You want the extra possession in the second half, all right? Getting the ball first means nothing, because if you literally won the football game because of this last week, which I thought might have helped change his mind, but boy was I wrong. Because what does he do? You win the toss, elect to receive, and you go down and score. Awesome, great. Boom, you give up a touchdown. Boom, the whole thing is messed up now, right? And then you get UCLA, goes down, scores a touchdown right before half, and gets the ball to open up the half. The biggest stop of the game was the stop to open the half, because God knows if UCLA goes down and scores right there, what kind of game are we even talking about then? Are we even talking about LSU winning at that point? That's how dramatic the mood had swung into the other direction. Now, I think UCLA's problem was the heat. I'm going to be completely honest with you. Like, our guys are used to that Louisiana heat, and they were able to stand up to it for 4 quarters. But you saw in the second half that UCLA team was not ready for that. And they looked like a majority of the fans on the sideline over there who were in the sun. Like, it was a miserable experience for them, I'm sure. And you saw them get worn down. But at some point, we've got to realize, Brian Kelly's got to realize, like, your offense is too good, right? You get off the too slow of starts for it to matter if you get the ball first, all right? Because even when you go down and score a touchdown, you still are off to a slow start, and you still end up tied 17-17.5, right? Like, against Nicholls, I don't really give a shit, all right? I'm going to be honest. Don't really care. Take the ball, do whatever you want, all right? Against USC, you win the toss, you elect to receive. You go down, you don't accept the points that they're giving you. They wanted to give you 3 points, you chose not to, so you go for it on 4th down, don't get it. You screwed it all up, right? And thankfully, UCLA screwed it all up at the second half, or at the end of the first half, and kind of screwed themselves out of points because of how they mismanaged the clock and missed the chip shot field goal. So that really didn't come back to bite you. But then, like, we talk about the South Carolina. Man, I'm spending way too much time talking about that. You can obviously tell how much this bothers me. But you won the game at South Carolina because of that. You had literally the worst case scenario. The worst case scenario you could draw up on how to start a football game when you defer to the second half. And it's why you got back into the football. You literally got down 17-0. They went down on the first drive and scored on like 6 plays. It wasn't even competitive. Like, your defense just got run through, and they went and scored a touchdown on 6 plays. All right? You're down 7-0, just like that. Boom. And then you're down 17-0. It's a worst-case scenario, but what happens? You keep battling back. You get the 2 possessions. You go down, and you don't even score to open up the second half, but it's the process, right? It would have worked in your favor if you could finish drives, but once again, LSU does not do that. They don't play complementary football. The defense finally starts getting stops, and then we're over here kicking field goals, getting turnovers on downs. Like, that's what LSU football has been, the king of missed opportunities this season, right? You go look at the USC game. You get 2 fumbles, you don't recover. All right, you get turnovers and are you cause turnovers and get stops on fourth down. You get the ball at midfield and then you kick a field goal or you go for it on fourth down or you turn the ball over yourself. Like LSU has got to find a way. The little times that the defense is going to provide that, because the defense is doing a great job of creating havoc and creating turnovers right now. That is why they're getting stops. They're not getting stops because they're just going 3-and-out every time and embarrassing dudes and clamping up and doing all that stuff. They're giving up yards. They're giving up big plays, all right? But when it comes down to it, they create some negative plays, and then they force you in third and longs, and then they force fumbles when they get sacks, and they go get the quarterback. Like, that's what their game plan is all based. That is what Blake Baker is here to do. He is here to create havoc. All right, if LSU doesn't get pressure on the quarterback, they are screwed. I don't care who they're going to play. If they don't get pressure on the quarterback, they're going to lose. Because if they find a team that can finally block their defensive ends and not cause havoc like that, and they have to start bringing extra guys, the DBs can't hold up. It's just a fact. Everybody knows that. I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about it because it's true. All right? This UCLA game goes far and wide beyond the result of the football game. This game was a chance to come out and show people that you kind of figured it out, right? You saw the second half of South Carolina. You really dominated the second half at South Carolina, right? And people wanted to see you start fast, which you did. You went down, scored a touchdown, but then you immediately go down and give it up. And the defense falls flat in the first half. The offense did all right. You had a couple drop passes, stuff I'm not really concerned about because Kyron Lace is awesome. He's going to continue to be awesome. I could care less if he dropped the pass. All right, it happens. All right, so the biggest thing is how you start these football games, because when you do play a good team, or let's say you play South Alabama, right, and you go down 17, 18, 20 nothing, whatever it is, what then? What happens when you get down 17 nothing against a team that can continuously score points? South Carolina couldn't throw a forward pass in the second half, and that's why you won. Like, we're not going to sugarcoat it. Like, you didn't do anything spectacular. You almost fucked it. Damn, I'm not supposed to curse. You almost effed it up, all right, because you couldn't stop runs. When they knew, everybody in the building knew they were running it, they literally ran a 3rd and 8 quarterback power because they literally know they didn't have any faith in Robbie Ashford to throw a forward pass. And it was the most embarrassing thing I ever seen in my life, all right, and that is why you won. That's 100% why you won. All right, because they gave you the opportunity, and eventually you were going to figure it out. But what happens when you face a good team, and that can put up points and continuously put up points? Like even Florida. Like, what if you face Florida and they get up on you like that? Florida's offense is decent enough to where they can continue to throw the football and make first downs and make you work. Like, you're going to have some issues, right? And you better get the shit figured out quick, because Ole Miss is coming to town, and Ole Miss will boat race you if they get the chance. All right, if you let Lane Kiffin get some momentum, and you let him get a 10 to 17 point head start, good luck, because this ain't the Ole Miss team that came here in 2022 that is new and experienced and doesn't have experience playing in big games. This is a team that now 2 years in a row has battled with the best in the SEC. All right, including the team that beat your ass last year. All right, so you get right against South Alabama, find a way to win the game, go to the bye week, get better, all right, and come out, and we'll see what happens, because you don't know nothing about this football team. I don't care if they go and boat race South Alabama 50 to nothing. I don't care. Absolutely do not care. The only thing that's going to change my opinion about LSU at this point is if they were to lose. Right? I'm not going to sway too far negative. I'm not going to sway too far positive, because right now I have my opinion about LSU and who they are, and I think I'm dead on the money, but we don't know until we face Ole Miss if they figured things out, from the USC game. Because I thought they played well against USC, and if they can play like that again against a team like Ole Miss and clean up some of the little things, they can win the football games, right? How are we talking about this football team if they finish the game at USC and they're sitting here undefeated right now, right? We're probably not as critical, all right? But it happened, all right? You can't take away things. You can't just pretend things didn't happen, all right? So I think the outlook on this team would be different if they find a way to win that football game and close it out, All right, but they didn't. So we all have this opinion that they can't do this, they can't do that, and in some ways they can. All right, they're very personnel deficient. They don't have the guys yet on the defensive side of the ball to hold up against certain amount of teams. Like they're going to have to create. Blake Baker is doing the most amazing coaching job because he has to create plays to create issues for offenses. It's not a guy going out there like Lynn Dorsey saying, "Hey, go get the quarterback," or like Patrick Peterson, you got him, like, and you're good on that side of the field. Like you're good, hands up. Like I don't need to worry about you. It's not like that. Like Blake Baker has to coach these guys up constantly throughout the game, make adjustments on the fly. Why do you think he's on the field this year, guys? He's on the field because he has to be able to communicate with those guys immediately as the play's going on, type thing, to stop the busted plays, right? And I know everybody's concerned about the big plays, and I really don't think LSU is that bad at giving up big plays. They give up a lot of big plays, don't get me wrong. It's not a good thing that they're giving up plays, but it's not like last year. Like you're not seeing guys running wide open and behind the defense and nobody's on the screen, you know? Like, you're not seeing that this year. Like, guys are in good position. They're just not making plays because they're just not ready to make those plays yet. They're not good enough to make those plays against SEC and Power 5, Power 4 teams yet. All right? So, what does this mean going forward? Like I said, you go to you play South Alabama, you just find a way to win the game. You get better during the bye week, and then we'll see what happens with Ole Miss. Right? Ole Miss is going to be coming off a tough game on the road at South Carolina, all right, just like you did. So we'll see how they look then, right? Against a very good defense. That'd be the best defense they probably play. I think they play Kentucky in between there as well. South Carolina will be coming off a bye when they play Ole Miss, and you'll be coming off a bye when you play Ole Miss. So that's back-to-back teams that get an extra week to prepare for Ole Miss. So that South Carolina game, you're going to find out a lot about Ole Miss. Maybe even the Kentucky game, you'll find out a little bit of something. But just continue to get better. I think you have a good enough team to beat a team like Ole Miss. But it's going to take a lot. It's going to take you playing your best game of the season, which I hope to God that LSU has not played yet. And everything is sitting in front of you. If you could find a way to go 1-1 in the Alabama-Ole Miss games, all right, and win the rest of your games that you should be favored in. I'm not saying they're gonna, all right? That's not me saying they're gonna, but everything you have to play for is still in front of you. You finish this year 10-2, 8-1 in the or 7-1 in the SEC. Everything you have to play for is still in front of you, and you're a playoff team. Simple as that. So, what do they look like against Ole Miss? Nobody has a way of knowing, but you know what? We got South Alabama to worry about, and we'll figure it out as we go. This is a week-by-week thing. This is not something that is set in stone that I can sit here and say they're going to come out here and dominate, because nobody knows how they're going to come out and play. I don't even think Brian Kelly knows how they're going to come out and play, because you can see it's frustrating him, because I think he's seeing things, and he's seeing things get better, and he's just not getting the consistency, which is all we're asking for as LSU fans, just a little bit more consistency. So, that's all I got for you guys today, man. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys have a blessed rest of your week. We'll be breaking down South Alabama later on this week. Make sure if you're not already, subscribe to the channel. Do whatever you got to do. It's completely free. All right, you don't have to subscribe. All it does is help us, though. So we appreciate you for watching, and I will see you guys next time.